Hey, what's up guys? It's Obi1 here, and today I want to share my opinion on the Miyoo Flip V2. This thing arrives and the packaging is great. They include a travel case. Miyoo is also nice enough to include an SD card reader, screen protector, and a USB A to C cable. This is a clamshell design, so it becomes very small when you're ready to put it up. As far as the processor, this has the RK3566 chipset, which can play anything through PS1 and some Nintendo 64, Dreamcast, and PSP. And most impressively, it has the most tactile and yet quiet face buttons and D-pad that I have ever used on a handheld. As soon as you turn this device on, you can tell that a lot of thought and engineering went into making these buttons as perfect as possible. My first impressions of this device were great. There's firmware that resembles the Onion operating system. They scrape some box art, but the game lists are a little ridiculous. They include first-party IP from Nintendo, but none of the games that you're really gonna want. Furthermore, you quickly discover that this is not Onion OS and lacks a lot of basic functionality. But oh my god, these buttons. They know just how I like it. They're extremely quiet but still tactile. The shoulder buttons are similarly spectacular. This button improvement, along with added joysticks and better pocketability, this has the potential to dethrone the RG35XX SP as the best 4x3 clamshell handheld. I'd say these buttons are half as loud as the 35XX SP. However, there are a few elephants in the room. You quickly realize that this operating system is nothing like Onion OS on the Miyoo Mini and the Miyoo Mini Plus. There's almost zero configuration and a huge lack of the game switcher, which is a huge benefit to the quality of life when playing on a handheld. Furthermore, there are not many custom firmware options available for the Miyoo Flip V2, where the 35XX SP has Nuli. Yes, Nuli means the F word in Swedish, but that just makes me like it more. The interface is informative, gorgeous, and customizable on the 35XX SP, and the Miyoo Flip V2 is just a basic boy in comparison at the time of this recording. Now, Miyoo obviously realized this, and they added an alternative front end of EmulationStation, which seems promising, but actually offers little more than the default front end, and actually excludes maybe half of the games that should be accessible on this device. I want to reiterate one more time that this may be the best D-pad and face buttons I have ever had the pleasure of testing. But the second red flag is that the joysticks are horribly placed and difficult to use with my big hands. I really wish they would have gone for a single joystick like the My Mini I recently picked up, but this device will get its own video. The third issue is the price. The RK3566 is old news and performs similarly to the H700 chipset in the Anbernic 35XX SP. Yet Miyoo has the audacity to charge almost twice as much as the 35XX SP. Aside from the quiet buttons, I can't say the Miyoo greatly improves on the 35XX SP in any meaningful way at the moment, aside from being slightly smaller. Playing games on them feels essentially the same. There is no improved ergonomics here, as far as I can tell. Back to the joysticks. These are the PS Vita style joysticks. However, I found the PS Vita joysticks to feel a lot better than the Miyoo Flip V2. And even the MinUI Smart Pro, which has similar joysticks, feels better than the Miyoo Flip V2 to use. But let's get into some game testing and see how the device performs in actions before we presume anything. We'll start off with a little Metroid Zero mission. This game is similar to Contra in the sense that it is essential to hit diagonals exactly when you intend to. And I'm happy to say that it seemed fine hitting diagonals with both the D-pad and the joystick. The screen looked great, the game ran excellently, and I thought I should be having a good time, but I wasn't. It took me a minute to realize what was ruining this experience, and it was the god-awful tin cans tied by a string sound coming out of the Miyoo Flip V2. It's all treble with zero soundstage and crappy treble at that. I'll give you an example here when compared to the MinUI Smart Pro, which is 2 years older and costs about half as much. I'm not sure how well YouTube audio compression will display this, but I'll give you another example here.
A Universal Interactive Studios production. Universal Interactive Studios production. Okay, created and developed by Naughty Dog.
I hope a custom firmware addresses this issue in the future, and I'm sure it will. Zero Tolerance on the Sega Genesis is a great game from my past. I know I was at the game store on my birthday. My father was going to buy me one game, and he was trying to talk me into buying this game. I assume so he could play it. But of course, he was my father, so he had to be wrong. So I chose probably some terrible game that I deeply regretted. But hey, at least I get to play it now. And it works well with either the joysticks or the D-pad. I did find myself switching back to the D-pad just because these joysticks are hard to reach for me. My thumbs go way beyond them. Zombies Ate My Neighbors is another classic from the same generation. You walk around, you shoot zombies with, I think, a squirt gun. You got to save all the cheerleaders and the fat guys in the pool. It was amazing, and this really showcases how fun it is to use this D-pad and face buttons on here. Arrow Fighters, I did have to change the analog stick to accept D-pad inputs, which is kind of annoying. Really, if you're configuring one single firmware for this device, that's something that they should have done on the back end, and it just seems kind of lazy that they didn't do it here. But still, using either the D-pad or the joystick here worked just fine. I was able to dodge all the bullets. It was a great experience. Cool World, this is the movie, I think, with Brad Pitt, and despite this really promising beginning, this game is awful. I do remember playing it as a kid, and it's even worse now. You can't attack. You jump into things, little police robots fall out of you and then attack you. What the hell is going on? This fox guy drops some fire and you die. Whatever. You try to buy something, but there's something in your hands? Oh my god. Batsugan. So we're going to try some arcade because that's where having the left joystick is really going to benefit you. But I didn't find it to be a benefit here. I immediately had to switch back to the D-pad. Worked great with the D-pad, but it kind of made me wonder why these joysticks are even there, because they're virtually unusable for my large hands. Still, game ran great. It was a good experience once I stopped using the joystick. So there are a lot of pre-installed ports on here. They had Half-Life, they have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder Revenge, and I wasn't going to use them, not with these analog sticks. But there is Willy Willy. What the hell is this? Turns out it's some sort of Asian YouTube or something. I found nothing on here
What is this?
that I would enjoy. As a matter of fact, this detracted from my enjoyment of life. No more Willy Willy. What is that, a llama? Who cares? No more ports. It's not all doom and gloom here, because using this joystick, the left joystick, for Super Mario 64, I did find it was very responsive and it seemed to work very well. So I don't know, it might just be the placement and ergonomics on this device, but even this ROM, they didn't even bother to put it in English when they're shipping to the United States. Just lazy. Soul Calibur, one of my favorites. I wanted to try some more fighting games because I wasn't certain that the diagonals felt good to use on either the D-pad or the joystick, and I'm definitely trying to hit the forward down vertical move here with Killick, and I just cannot hit it for the life of me. I was a little convinced that maybe this joystick is terrible. What the fuck, dude? Maybe it is. But after a little acclimation, I am able to hit all the moves that I want. So I guess it's serviceable, just not great. And also, done with EmulationStation. I'm sick of playing only half my games. They threw a bunch of PSP games on here. Tekken 6 ran pretty well, but I cannot hit the back down forward punch move of Paul, which is a super punch. With either the D-pad, okay, there goes one, but I don't know. I'm not performing well here. But then, of course, I do hit it 3 times in a row here using the joystick. And I guess it is serviceable. It just takes some time to get used to. I still don't like it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't work. Spyro was the first game where I didn't mind using the joystick at all. All the inputs seemed to work very well. It was fun to play. It felt comfortable in my hands. Primarily because I don't need to use the shoulder buttons as well. You cannot use the joysticks and shoulder buttons on this. I don't care what kind of fingers and hands you have. Not even presidential hands could play this thing effectively. But it ran very well. No complaints. We're going to try another fighting game here because I just thought maybe I'm just terrible. And it turns out I am just terrible. I couldn't hit any of Yoshimitsu's moves. I even tried to stab myself and then spin around. I can't style on June here. Oh no, this is Michelle. It's just not working out right. I don't know. They do include all the borders, and then it looks like there's some integer scaling going. I hate all this crap. It slows the games down. It burns onto your screen. Nobody wants that. Pinball works great. I assume all the retro games that just use D-pad inputs will be fine to play. I just suck at this game. You can't even push A at the right time. Next game. Street Fighter. I had to try another fighting game because, yeah, I think I was just terrible at all the other games. The D-pad works great for diagonals and everything, so I think it's just the joystick that really bothers me here. So in conclusion, I would say right now I am unhappy with this device because without any custom firmware options and with the really high price point compared to the competition, this device is not necessarily worth it. But at the same time, I still have hope because I am very loyal to Miyoo. I've enjoyed every single device I've bought from them, and I do think the community is definitely going to produce some really effective custom firmware for this device. So if you want a slightly smaller device and really need the joysticks for some games you want to play, go ahead and buy this. But if you don't need the joysticks, just get the 35XX SP until there are better custom firmware options for this one. And of course, once those better options come out, I will do another review and probably love this device. Aside from that, that's all I've got this time. So see you guys next time. Adios.